Yo, it's Guido coming at you with the Tactics Talk. Got my coffee. Hope you guys are having a good morning. STB, Elf Magi 2. What happened to Elf Magi 1? Was he he get blowed up and we had to go to number 2, or was the name taken? Somebody else had Elf Magi, so we had to be number 2. We're in our STB 1. We're in Clan Aimed. That's good. Yeah, you got to aim. We are on Himmel's Redshire Oaks. We're on Live Oaks, Liveshire, Himmel's Oaks. Headed to the tracks. All right. I like it. Not a lot of help, though. Lots of mediums. It would be really nice if the Leopard and the other STB and the 50M pushed up. We're going to watch this. So I've watched this through, and I think this is a really great example of a couple things, which is the strength of a hold-down tank and knowing how to play hold-down. So that's the first half of this battle. The second half is going to be about reactions and staying in the game. So let's check this out. The 140 goes in, and it looks like the enemy team isn't interested in pushing down into the ditch. Now this can be very dangerous because they've only pushed 2 into the ditch. They have a Sheridan, and these guys are all Camp Alama Ding Dang. Terrible. Boo. F. All you clowns. You suck. All right, so those 3 suck. Anyway, let's see if they come up. The good news is that the purples decide not to push in and take on the 2 guys. Now here comes the 50M and the Leopard. And this is very typical these days. And it's taught by a lot of Twitch streamers and YouTubers. And it's the old let the rest of the team prove that you can move up before you move up. More and more, I am less and less pleased, I guess, is not really the word. It's bothersome. Anyway, we're going to watch Elf Magi 2 do a nice job here with his hold down. And this is something we want to talk about today. So, all right, hold down means that you poke up your turret in some fashion, whether it is with depression or with terrain or rubble or something, and you only expose a very little of your tank. Right, so as he comes over, and you can tell that he doesn't have a lot of his tank exposed because this ridge line here, right along here, all right, shows that his gun line is just above the ridge line, which means a lot of his hole is covered up. All right, so he's going to come over here. He's going to get a shot. Armor not penetrated. You've got some spaced armor, and the 430U is known as a very heavily armored medium tank. Lots of angles. And Elf Magi is going to start working this. The 430U has a long reload, screen not penetrated, so it looks like he either got into the spaced armor or into the guy's mantlet. 430U is known for a long reload, so he was able then to get inside his reload, pop out, take the shot, and he wasn't going to get a return shot. All right. What he's going to do now is he's going to start working on some double teaming with the 140 over here. This guy cannot fight both guys effectively. Came over and got a shot. The one thing you do have to watch out for, he is coming up high enough to clear so that he can get his gun down onto the lower plate of the 430U. That will expose your side, in this case, to a little bit more, but it looks like, based on the raise of the terrain right there, he's actually in pretty good shape. Notice the 430U is pointing at the Object 140. That's something then you can also take into your cross-check, which means you're going to have some time to aim as long as he's not aiming at you. You do have to watch snapshots, returning, that kind of thing, but you take all of this in to make your decisions on when it's going to be a good trade or the possibility of a good trade. So 430U is actually in pretty big trouble. All right, this is a good one, very important. Now we have another guy showing up, so now we've got a multi-bogey environment developed over here, and this dude is up higher. You can see then, let's get some of this stuff away. You can see that he has a better shot on Elf Magi. Like, he's looking at him too, so that gun's looking at me. He's also higher, which means he's looked down, and he's going to see a lot more of Elf Magi's hole. So he backs out until when? Until that guy can't see him anymore. See how the train's now on the way? Now he's not going to have a shot, or at least he's going to have much less of a shot. And Elf Magi decides to leave. Doesn't want to duel with the WZ. He comes around this way. Notice the other Leopard is still, I don't know, what is he doing? I don't know what that bush, what kind of shot that bush is affording. Maybe they were popping up over here while we were talking. I don't know. The STB is still way back there clowning around. I don't know. And Elf Magi is now trying to make a multi-axis threat onto the enemy team. Now, one thing about coming up high on a spot like this then, and you have to watch out for with hold down things, is your turret can only point in one direction, which means if you have multi-axis bogeys coming at you, that gives somebody probably a side shot into a turret, and generally the side of the turret is a lot less strong than the front of the turret. So we're going to see some of that over here. Now Elf Magi is going to come over to this side, and now he's going to actually add a different angle. Why the 50M decided to go over there when he was already established over here, adding different angles on these guys, I will never know. Just don't do stuff like that. He was fine over here actually popping up and getting good shots, because we're going to find out from Elf Magi that he's got some nice shots here. He is going to be careful because the Object 140 is there, but that STB is in kind of a bad spot. He's way over on the edge, and he's high up on the terrain, so we'll see exactly in just a moment here what that does for him. The 430 came up too, so we're just going to adjust a little bit, get that hydraulics going, and pop him in the side. And that's why that's such a bad position right there. He might be covered up from these guys because there's a little dip there, but once you get into this position where Elf Magi is, then he's got some nice shots. And the 140 is trying to keep him honest, and he's actually shooting. So the 140 just fired, although he reloads pretty quickly, so he's probably reloaded about right now. Keeping track of who's fired in these situations can be very important as I'm popping up, but he had an opportunity there. The 140 was pretty far back down the rise, which means that Elf Magi was going to be able to come up higher, a little higher, and get a shot on that STB than if the 140 had been a little bit further up. See, now he's kind of aiming over there, trying to get a shot on someone else. That dude's making a runner, and now we get hit. And that's what happens when you come up a little higher. That gives the 140 a shot. He's in a pretty good spot right there. It doesn't have a lot of depression, but that little flat area where he's in actually will let him shoot guys that come up. So he actually gets a hit and a track and a ammo rack. And Elf Magi sort of stands in and says, screw you. At first I couldn't figure out what was going on, but he's actually carrying small kits. This is why I don't really, at least I think it's a small kit. Let's double check here. Yeah, small repair kit. That only allowed him to fix one thing. He fixed his ammo rack, but his tracks were still broken. For my money at tier 10, you carry a big kit, you hit 4 or 5, whatever you got it set on, and you fix both things and you get the heck out of there, because giving up hit points at this tier is no bueno. So he gets that fixed. We got 1,800 damage, and it looks like some of those mediums are trying to run. Frankly, they had a pretty good overmatch over here, and had they pushed in, because of these clowns camping back here, they probably would have cleaned these guys up. Good news is, though, not every team is that good. Sometimes you're better. The STB, I don't know what that maneuver was, but he eats another shot for it. Now Elf's going to try to finish him off. Yeah, so he just can't possibly get down and out of the way in time. Elf gets a 2 for nothing right there. All right, so the 430 comes around. Nice little move on his part. Elf comes around and bounces. And this is one of the only mistakes I think I saw out of you, Elf, on this game. I would have been shooting this 100 LT. I don't know if you actually noticed that. The 430 was backing out. He knows he can't stay there for very long. And then there was no reason really to push in. Just start shredding this LT over here, man. Get those free hit points, because as you come around here, you're exposing yourself to anybody who might be up in those spots there. I don't know if we get any damage here. We come around. We go for it. Ooh, oh, geez. No, there's somebody. He missed. Now we're backing back out of this thing. We finally see those guys over there. Thank goodness that JPZ did not start paying attention to you. That would have sucked. We put a nice little shot into him because he's got a bad angle. Use the track, I don't know, what is that base, whatever that thing is, the bridge base thing there, to block the JPZ, and then we'll kind of ignore. We see this a lot on this map. You win the peninsula over here, or at least you have an advantage, and people then just push into the cap. There's no reason for that. I like that he turned around. Here he's going to come back this way. There is a bit of a threat kind of splitting the middle with the JPZ and the 100 LT. Fairly easily dealt with. We're going to come back here. Down goes the JPZ. Now we just have to kind of hunt out the 100 LT if we can, but we get some extra shots here on guys. Take down the 430. Very nice. The STB is moving in, looking for the 100 LT. The town is in good shape, so we're actually okay. We got a bit of an advantage in hit points, not much. One tank advantage, but our positioning is very good right now. 100 LT is trying to take on the STB. Doing actually a decent job of it. Then he dies. Then he dies. STB takes a big hit, and Elf decides to come back this way. I like the choice to go across the bridge and not down the long way through the ravine right there. There's probably not anybody that's going to get any spotting on you. I've often wondered on these broken trains if there was a way to see through them. He actually looks right here, but not quite. He's not tall enough. Only the very tallest of tanks will be able to do that. There is one right here. I believe he does get a view. He jams on the brakes. Does he use this or does he? Nope, not here. Actually, underneath. There we go. So that there are shots available underneath right here, guys. So watch out for that. This is actually pretty funny. He gets the armor not hit. Son of a. And he works underneath this guy once again. Changes his mind, goes to the autoloader. I think that's not a bad plan, actually. I mean, the grill hits harder. Decides to go after the hit points, I guess. Or, rightly so, decided somebody was probably going to kill him. And down goes the grill A. So we're in good shape. We're up 3,400 hit points. And now I think we get a little loosey-goosey in here. We're kind of pushing in, and we start to lose some hit points. This guy's hold down. That's a good spot for the Caernarvon AX. You can defend from that road back there pretty well, unless people push into the A0 line and start shooting down the row. It looks like he kind of sees that sort of coming and bails out of that. You can only hold that for so long if somebody's pushing in like the, what is it, Leopard is doing over there. So now we're into the reaction phase. We've done a really nice job with the hold down thing. Most of those shots were taken very carefully, especially early on with the hold down. Might be worth reviewing for those of you who are trying to figure out what hold down is and how it works. This is amazing. He actually does damage and doesn't bounce off the gun. But then things don't go as well. He takes a shot that goes into the dirt. In actuality, the HMC is more or less hold down against him right there, right? Just a little bit of him poking up. The second one went into the gun and bounced. And we're still doing some standoff stuff. We got an IS-4 hanging out over there. Question is he going to push in or what's he going to do? We actually get some damage on. No, we armor not penetrated, so we bounce on that one. The enemy team has now a slight hit point advantage, and it's heavies versus mediums, essentially. There's a Centurion AX at 100%. There's still a big stick FV on the enemy team. And we've got, other than the Object 140, everybody's got some damage going on right here in the GW. That's the X factor, though. The Greens have the GW. And for the moment, the 140 is sort of cutting people off, and they're not going to be able to get in there and get rid of the GW. So they're all kind of stuck in town, although the Centurion AX looks like maybe he's thinking about it, trying to find the artillery. So the 140 starts working his way over that way. The Mouse is backing into the town. The FV is somewhere near him, and the IS-4 is right there. So now they've all brought their guns together, and that's going to be a tough nut to crack right there. Looking for a shot, but we don't get it. You see the Object 140 moving over to get rid of the Centurion AX. More than likely, the artillery is helping him right there. Put another shot in. We're not getting lit. Looks like we're bushed up a little bit here. Hard to tell what happened there. There goes the 140 and the AX. JPZ says the 140 needs help. I think Elf Magi thought about it, started heading off this way. One thing he needs to be really careful about is getting too close in with all three of these big heavies. The IS-4 gets a shot. He's going to come up here. IS-4 actually reloads a little faster than you think. There's hydraulics available there. I don't know if he needed really to come all the way up. And he tries to push in, and then pretty quickly he realizes, I'm just too close. If the Mouse and the FV and the IS-4 all push him, more than likely they get him dead. So he bails out, uses his speed, and that was a good job on his part. The Centurion AX is dead. Very helpful. The WZ took a big chunk out of the IS-4, who probably thought he was going to go chase down the STB. And it looks like Elf Magi, this is, again, the decision-making part, wisely decides that I don't really need to be in brawling with these guys. Let's get some more standoff, kind of pick at these dudes from a better position over here. So he comes up top. Not really sure why he didn't shoot right there. Down goes the WZ, unfortunately. You could have knocked that stuff down, I suppose. But we've got him spotted. Nice shot, 339. The 140's back in it. We've got the Sheridan as well. They've taken care of the AX. The 140, I think, makes a bad play getting in a little bit too close to these guys. I don't think he really should have dove in. And then Elf kind of bails out at the same time the 140 is moving in. It looks like he decided against that and started working to the back part of the city. But of course, if the Maus sees this, he and the FV should just be pushing the 140. They know the STB's over here clowning around. The Sheridan, I wouldn't worry about him too much. But of course, the Maus is doing no such thing. He's wandering around out in the open. We prioritize the FV. Nice shot on him. He's softer. Get rid of that dude. Hugely important if we can. Come up here, and there he is. Boom. Gone. Nicely done. And we're down to 2 tanks. We got 1,000 hit point advantage. The 140 is still goofing around in the city. And unfortunately, he gets tracked down by the IS-4, which is exactly what I would do if I was the IS-4. I'd be headed towards that 140. I don't know why the FV made that mistake to get out in the open and push towards the cap. That was dopey. Unless he thought he was defending cap. Really, unless the cap siren goes off, there's no reason for those heavies to come out of those buildings. It's not that far. I don't see anything other than maybe the Sheridan that has enough camo to not see them once you clear those buildings and take a peek. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. The only other mistake I saw Elf do is, I don't know why he got on cap here. It's going to be a potato. Actually, he comes over here and takes a peek, looking in case the Maus is coming. There's a known bush here. This is a good one to post up and look for spotting. He's got one of his 2 heat rounds. I think he actually switches back to AP. Pretty decent pen even on the standard round. Also didn't notice he does have binocs. This is a fairly strong setup for this part end game. I think he gives up a lot earlier. I don't know what his other 2 things are. I'm assuming maybe vert stab and rammer potentially, or maybe there's vents and ram or something like that in there. It is a fairly accurate gun. Maybe he's not using vert stab. The binocs, boy, I don't know. I think there are more opportunities for other equipment over time than to have binocs, but I'll tell you what, right now it's actually working out for him as far as adding a bunch of burn through. So he's going to hang out here. We got the Sheridan. The 140 died to the IS-4, like I talked about, and we still got a lot of hit points here, right? They've got 200 something. Some of our hit points are involved in the Arty. Arty goes in and takes a chunk out of the Maus. Makes the Maus about a one-shot to our hero. Looks like a blind shot into the cap. It actually came pretty dang close. That would have sucked. That's the other kind of problem about cap, and they know that that's you, especially if they're spotting the Sheridan. They're like, okay, well, the STB's on the cap. He's not really a problem. Gives me some freedom of movement. Knowing that he's there, I can use the buildings and things. If I don't know you're at the cap, maybe I'm a little more worried about where I move. IS-4 takes a hit. Close to a one-shot, but he still needs 2 more. Sheridan's running around. Now we get this guy. We do nice bush work here. We back up. Shot right into the lower plate. I might have gone for the turret, but it worked out. We go for the turret there that time, and that may have been what would have happened the time before, because there was some angle on it, and we'll just sneak one into the lower plate and take him out. That guy should have really been angling. There was no reason to go straight at you right there. We do get spotted, so the IS-4 is somewhere nearby. He chased down the Sheridan, and that is a bit of a bummer. It would be nice to have that for crossfire, but there is an artillery involved. So now we just got to get in here and get that nice medium view range. This is why mediums are so powerful at the end game. He sneaks a shot into us. Nicely done. Zoom in for a nice 390. Remember, he was at about 500 or so. So now he's in big trouble. And boom, artillery takes him out for a little extra spotting damage. 6,166, 2,629 assists. Combined 8,000 and some change. Almost 9,000 combined. Really nicely done. I like that for an example of the hold down stuff and then decision making from the initial positioning, not pushing into the cap, reacting to a threat that was in the middle, taking care of that, and then working yourself around the fight. Got a little close, I think, when you got in towards the town on this section right here, but bailed out of that, got some distance between you and them, and just picked them apart from there. Absolutely a fantastic game, man. Thanks for sending that in. I hope everybody liked that. That's all I've got for today. We will see you.